Big story we are breaking at this hour. The BBC office in Delhi has been raided by the Income Tax Department. Sources are saying employees have their phones seized already. Everyone has been asked to leave and go home. The big story that we're getting at this hour, this has got to do with raids in BBC's Delhi office. This is the income tax raiding at the Delhi office of the BBC. Employees have been asked to go home is what we've been told. The story is just developing and we're getting in some pictures. We will in fact be getting in more details of this big developing story. The British Broadcasting Corporation's office in Delhi has been sealed by the Income Tax Department. Employees have been asked to go home. Their phones have been seized is what we know. BBC has been in news very recently after the documentary they put out on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and there's bound to be a link that's going to be drawn between both of these developments. The development versus the documentary on Prime Minister Narendra Modi that the government was very upset about, and these raids now of the Income Tax Department. It's a developing story and we have some sketchy details at the moment, but what we can confirm for our viewers is that the raids are ongoing at the BBC's office in Delhi city. This is a raid that is being carried out by the Income Tax Department. Employees have been told that their phones can't be taken by them. All the phones of employees have been seized. Everyone has been asked to leave and go home is what we know. Income tax raids in BBC's Delhi office. That's the news we're getting at this hour. The tax department is searching at the BBC's Delhi office. Remember, BBC recently has been in news when there was also a demand, a plea rather, in the Supreme Court of India to ban the channel in India. That plea, however, was thrown out the window by the Supreme Court. This after the BBC put out a documentary on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In fact, the documentary drew a lot of attention, with the opposition also raising it. The BBC, in fact, had said that it had done thorough research before putting out the documentary on Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his alleged role as the Chief Minister of Gujarat when the riots took place in Gujarat. Milan Sharma has more details on the raids that are ongoing right now. Milan, what more can you tell us?
Well, Sneha, this morning between 9 to 10:30 a.m. when the employees reached the BBC office at Kasturba Gandhi Marg in Delhi, they were told to return back home. Currently, the offices have been sealed. The employees that reached the office, their phones also have been seized. There were, sources that have informed us that at the moment there's no current statement or an official statement that's coming out from the BBC India office. But the London office has been apprised of the entire matter, and perhaps we'll be hearing a word or two from the London office on the entire fiasco that has happened today. The Income Tax Department raid on the BBC office comes close on the heels of the BBC documentary that spoke about the Gujarat riots, that spoke about the 2002 riots there, and of course Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. The entire documentary was centered on him and his role in the Gujarat riots in 2002. Perhaps we can join these links together, but at the moment we are yet to receive an official word from the Income Tax Department as well as to why this particular raid was orchestrated today itself, and whether or not it's going to be a day-long raid, perhaps because the employees have been told to go back home, and there has been no official word either from the BBC or from the IT department on this particular raid, Sneha.
Milan, the fact is that the documentary raised so much of a storm in India and outside as well, and BBC has been in news for these reasons. This matter is bound to be picked up by the opposition to say that we said so, that these are departments that are being misused by the BJP to settle political scores. I'm really guessing that's going to happen, isn't it?
Well, Sneha, that's quite a possibility, because when we talk of raids on media offices like the BBC, it certainly would be picked up by the opposition to say that this directly hits at the freedom of speech and expression. Because this morning also we've seen Home Minister Amit Shah gave an interview, and he did say that they have nothing to hide, and that the BBC and a foreign lobby has been targeting India's Prime Minister since 2002. And just after that, this particular information of a raid on the BBC offices based in Delhi at Kasturba Gandhi Marg. Well, the entire building is where other offices are also based out of, but only the BBC office on one particular floor has been sealed at the moment. And we know from our sources that employees at the BBC have now been told to stay out of the office for some time, with their phones also being seized. We'll have to wait and see what kind of official information comes forward from both the BBC company
Be
as
with
well
us, Milan. Just coming back to you in a moment from now. In fact, Abhishek is also joining us. Abhishek, this is some sort of a verification exercise, or is it an income tax raid? Get us more details about what's really going on right now.
Well, this morning the Income Tax Department has carried out searches. It's a verification exercise, what is being said. Usually, the Income Tax does not call this a raid. They say that it's a survey. But in this particular instance, there is no official word. So what we have got to know is that there is a team of the Income Tax Office in the Delhi office of BBC. Some phones have been taken away of the employees there. What exactly is being verified is something for the Income Tax Department to clarify. But yes, the timing of this exercise rather significant at a time when the BBC has been in controversy. There was a documentary by the BBC on Gujarat riots, and it has become a big political issue in India. So at this point of time, for the BBC, for the Income Tax Department to reach the doorstep of BBC is obviously going to grab eyeballs, not just within the country, but even internationally.
Well, absolutely, internationally as well, given that outside of India, in the UK also this matter was raised. There have been questions about the functioning of the government in the past as well. And the opposition, Abhishek, has always said that the government uses instruments like the income tax, for example, and the ED to settle scores, to settle political scores. This raid or this verification process is just going to amplify this argument, isn't it?
Well, definitely, Sneha, we can expect a political storm over what has happened today. And also, once again, the timing is very significant. It's just yesterday that the Parliament session has gone into recess. If the session was still going on and this exercise took place, we could well imagine what would have happened in Parliament. In any case, the Parliament could hardly function. There was a lot of attack from the opposition on various issues, including the Adani controversy. Even the BBC controversy had found a voice in Parliament. So if this had happened yesterday or before that, then there would be a big showdown in Parliament. But the fact that the Parliament has gone into recess, at least that part is taken care of. But needless to say that there is going to be a huge political row over this. So we can expect the opposition to gun for the government, and it remains to be seen what the government and the IT department has to say about this verification exercise that is taking place.
Yes, already a lot of chatter, Abhishek, that I see on social media, where a lot of people are saying that this is rather predictable in that sense. BBC has been in the eye of the storm. The government has been very upset. In fact, there was a plea in the Supreme Court saying that the channel must actually be banned in India. Of course, the plea was thrown out of the window.
Well, that's right. I mean, to ban BBC would be obviously pushing it too far. That's something that the government obviously wouldn't even want to do. But yes, I mean, there is a lot of talk about what's happened today. There is a lot of reaction already on social media, people tweeting about it, and we can expect a war of words on this subject. But it's also interesting why the Income Tax Department has not clearly stated what exactly is the purpose of this exercise. What exactly are they trying to find out? Why have they reached the BBC office? All these are questions that the Income Tax Department needs to answer quickly.
Yes, and this is a verification sort of an exercise is what we are picking up. Income tax concealment is what we are hearing. So this is just the Delhi office, essentially, Abhishek, as of now?
Well, the word has come in, Sneha, that it's in other offices as well, perhaps even in Mumbai. But because there is no official word, it's difficult to give out details of which are the premises that have been searched, what exactly is the purpose of the searches, what has been seized, what is the kind of team that has gone to carry out this exercise. All these are details that are still awaited. We can only comment on these things once the income tax comes out with some kind of an official statement. Till now, nothing of that sort has happened.
All right, so possibly in Mumbai, but there are sketchy details and we'll be very careful as far as the reportage on this is concerned. This may or may not be an income tax raid. It could be a verification process, is what Abhishek is also telling us. So right now, the details we have with us are fairly sketchy in nature, but possibly the raids are ongoing. In Mumbai as well, Delhi office definitely has income tax flutes right now, is what we know. Abhishek, what we also know is that the telephones of many of the employees have been sealed. They've been asked to go home.
I mean, that's the word that we have got. Our correspondent on the ground, Milan Sharma, in fact, gave this information that phones have also been seized. And what the nature of this exercise is, Sneha, it's still not clear. What we've heard is that this is a verification exercise, not a quote-unquote raid. But for the BBC, for the Income Tax Department to be at the BBC office, that in itself is, a big thing. Usually, the Income Tax Department wouldn't go to the office of a news organisation. What the exact reason is still not known, and we do not want to speculate on anything. Obviously, there will be a lot of talk about the BBC documentary that had come out. It had triggered a political row, and in the backdrop of that, something like this to happen is obviously rather interesting.
Yes, absolutely, Abhishek. Be with us. Just coming back to you, Ashutosh is also at the BBC headquarters in Delhi City. Ashutosh, give us a sense of what's really going on there. Employees have been asked to go home. What else you're picking up?
So, well, what we just heard that around 60 minutes ago, the team of Income Tax Department who reached here at the 5th and 6th floor of this building in Connaught Place. And this is not the BBC headquarters. This is BBC's bureau in the national capital. We have two bureaus, and one Mumbai, one Delhi. And both these two offices have been visited by the income tax official. Now, since this is being surprise visit, now the income department, or some words that is coming, that this is not a raid, but they were here to verify certain documents. But in that case, the phones of officials or any employee not being seized. So whether it is a survey, technically when they say, or it is a raid, or some document verification, why there was need of seizing the phone of the employees, as they say. So for now, the teams are still inside. We see also some Delhi police officials also present inside, which is of course standard protocol when certain agencies visit. They do have a police cover-up and protection. So all these vehicles of the income tax department are also a lot of movement that is happening here. What we also heard, that certain employees were also asked to leave home, and we know that there have been a massive uproar, massive row over particularly the BBC documentary on 2002, which is very critical to Prime Minister Modi and the BJP. And since this will of course be seen in the same light, and opposition will find an opportunity that, look, the BBC became very critical to you, you raided that office. So clearly you will soon hear the same words from the opposition. But what is happening here, the teams, the members from the income tax department are inside, and if it is a matter of verification, then certainly the procedure and what is being said. So unless there is some official word from the government or the income tax department, this will be seen in many apprehension, whether it is called survey, or you call it a raid, or you call it a verification of these documents. But particularly in the backdrop of what we are seeing in last few weeks, from the documentary to the criticism, and remember soon we will have the British delegation in the first week of March.
In fact, the Congress has reacted to these developments. Jairam Ramesh, who is in charge of the media department of the Congress party, has spoken out. Listen in.
और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है, विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि। यहां हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में, और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है। विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि। यहां हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में, और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है। विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि। यहां हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में, और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे पड़ी हुई है। विनाशकाले विपरीत बुद्धि। यहां हम जेपीसी की मांग कर रहे हैं अडानी के मामले में, और वहां सरकार बीबीसी के पीछे।
Interesting developments today. The Home Minister Amit Shah also has spoken about the BBC documentary on Prime Minister Modi. Listen in.
बीजेपी के स्पोक्सपर्सन्स कह रहे हैं कि हर इलेक्शन से पहले ऐसे एक इंटरनेशनल कंस्पिरेसी होता है। पहले रफाल था।
देखिए स्मिता जी, मैं बीजेपी के स्पोक्सपर्सन को इसका जवाब देने दीजिए। मैं आपको बताता हूं, सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसका संज्ञान लिया है। इस बारे में मैं कम से कम अभी बात करना नहीं चाहूंगा।
क्या कोई कंस्पिरेसी है सर, जैसे बीबीसी का डॉक्यूमेंट्री हो या फिर ये हिंडनबर्ग का रिपोर्ट हो? क्या आप भी ऐसे देखते हैं कि कोई?
देखिए, सत्य जो होता है इस पर 1000 कॉन्स्पिरेसी कर लो, कुछ नहीं होता है। वो करोड़ों सूर्य की भांति तेजस्वी बनकर ही बाहर आता है। ये तो मोदी जी के पीछे 2002 से कर रहे हैं, और हर बार मोदी जी मजबूत होकर, सच्चे बनकर और जनता की ज्यादा लोकप्रियता हासिल कर बाहर आए हैं।
Ashutosh is in the BBC bureau office in Delhi, getting us all of those pictures you see on your screens right now. The police, in fact, is there. The employees, Ashutosh, have been asked to go home. Their phones have been seized. All of them, some of them. What more can you tell us?
Well, some of those employees put out this in public domain. Certain spoke to certain journalists. The phones were seized off and they were asked to leave. Now remember, this is the bureau office. So when it comes to the editorial control of the world's one of the most reputed media organization, it is mostly since driven from UK. And when it comes to the news gathering, which is being done here at the bureau office, and the documentary team are totally different. There is barely any connection between the news gathering team here at BBC bureau office and one team which makes the documentary. But clearly you heard from the Congress party, the opposition, how they are, relating with that. You just presented one documentary by the BBC and which is critical to the government, then you see these raids happening. So clearly this is not going to stop here. You will see more such trigger. Even there could be possibly certain reactions from the British authority or even the global media giants when you see the income tax departments, be it survey, raid, data collection, verification, anything. But the income tax department visiting, world's one of the most prestigious news organization, it will have its own, ramification. There will be certain reactions you will see. But for now, what we are seeing here, that the income tax official continue to present here. The gates have been sealed here. Of course, the media persons are not allowed to go inside. The gates now being locked by the security personnel. We have the Delhi police officials present inside and the team of, we don't know yet the number of the income tax officials who came here for this survey or for this verification. But the 5th and 6th floor of this building in Lutyens Delhi, in Connaught Place, where this exercise is being done in the national capital, Sneha.
So some sort of a survey is what has been said by Income Tax Department. This is what sources are indicating right now. But enough and more chatter, and expect this to grow louder, Ashutosh, about the fact that this is directly linked to the documentary that the BBC had put out on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, when the riots had taken place.
Well, administrative control or the editorial control, of course, which is not being done by the bureau office, and one who understands the news organization's operations. So clearly we know how limited access to the bureau offices have. But of course, when it comes to the verification, whether it is about the company's tax records or it is about specifically any employees, that we not know. Yeah, of course, there is no official statement from the Income Tax Tax Department, whether they are carrying out it is survey or as we have something in public domain called verification, or it is a raid. But without any prior notice, if teams are visiting and just carrying out certain exercise, we know very much and familiar with these technical words, but of course the common people can get an understanding what this exercise
Ashutosh, I'll come back to you in a moment from now. Sahil Joshi is also joining us from Mumbai. Are raids on in the Mumbai Bureau office as well? Sahil, what more can you tell us?
Premises in Mumbai, the one premises which is situated in BKC, where they have set up their studio. We are hearing that the team from Delhi has come, Income Tax Department team from Delhi has come down to Bombay and Mumbai, and they are also, it's not a raid, but we can call it, there is a survey going on by the Income Tax Department. We'll try to speak to...
Majid Memon is also now joining us. Your reaction, sir, to the survey or the raids? You know, we don't have a clarification or official word from the Income Tax Department yet, but we know that the office and the people has been raided by the department and the employees have been asked to go home. Mr. Memon.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Will you please repeat?
I was asking you a question on BBC being raided by the Income Tax Department. The department says this is some sort of a survey that's being carried out. Your reaction to that?
So all these raids, how far they are legitimate, they are officially done, or they are being done at the instance of some political parties for the purposes of harassing the victims. If it is a fair investigation, we have no objection about it at all. But then there has to be a perception that the Income Tax Department, or for that matter, ED or any such central agency, are not misusing the powers.
So, Majid Memon, in fact, I'm going to thank you for the moment for joining us with your views. The Congress has also already come out and said that this is the government going after BBC. Remember, BBC has been in news for several reasons. The foremost of that has been the documentary they put out on Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the Gujarat riots in his position as the Chief Minister of Gujarat when the riots took place. Ashutosh continues to be with us, getting us these pictures on your screen. Ashutosh, what more can you tell us currently about the raids that are ongoing?
Well, of course, so far until there is an official statement from the Income Tax Department or the concerned agency, this will continue to create certain apprehension, whether it is a raid, whether it is a survey or some verification, because whatever is in public domain is only based on the sources. But yes, what we have primarily told, that the team which reached around 70-75 minutes ago, the employees have also said that their phones were seized and they were asked to leave. And if it is some verification, if the employees leave, who will they carry out this verification process, whether it is the administrative staff of this small bureau of the BBC or it is some editorial rank at this bureau headquarter of BBC in the national capital. But for now, whatever is being carried out is being seen globally. Of course, this will give a louder message to the globally, because one of, as I said, one of the world's most prestigious organization, news organization like BBC, and this carrying out exercise, and particularly in the light of the controversy that we have seen in last few weeks, this will have its own ramification. There won't be a repercussion. There will be, a different way of reactions. We already are seeing the same coming from the opposition camp. We will have it more later in the day, of course, from different corner of not only this country, but also maybe from the British authority, that we know that BBC, a state-run media giant, how it operates, and there have been often criticism to the BBC reporting. Of course, be it any country or any authority, when they report certain which suits any government's narrative, then the BBC gets praised when it is critical, and as it always happens when there is a critical thing, of course they are also slammed from the respective country or their authorities. But regardless what is that happen here, this is being seen particularly in the light of the BBC documentary. But what we also know, that the documentary team which made made this documentary. This is totally a news gathering bureau of the BBC, not the documentary or the program making team which sit here. So clearly, unless there is some official version from the Income Tax Department or the concerned ministry or any official, this will continue to create apprehensions, and of course issues will be raised. And for now, this is giving a big ammunition to the opposition. And see the coincidence. Very today, this morning, in an interview, the Union Home Minister Amit Shah talks about the BBC documentary when he says that how there have been attempt to defame the image of the Prime Minister.
Gaurav Gogoi of the Congress Party is with us now. Gaurav, what's your sense about these raids that are ongoing right now? We believe it's a survey, is what we picked up, but very little information. What do you have to say?
Well, it's not surprising. It's a typical approach from the BJP under Prime Minister Modi.
Okay.
That at a time when the whole country is asking for an investigation into the nexus between the Adani Group and Prime Minister Modi, here they are going after a media agency. And this only shows how India is further sliding into authoritarianism under Prime Minister Modi. The way domestic media channels, the way global media channels are being harassed, this is nothing but harassment. So this shows that how when India is holding the presidency of G20, instead of showing the best of Indian democracy, Prime Minister is showing the worst of authoritarianism with raids on BBC, a clean chit to Adani Group, tax cuts for the big business, people's homes in Kanpur being bulldozed, inequality rising, unemployment rising, inflation rising. It's a sorry state of affairs, but it's not surprising. This is a BJP when they are defensive, that this is exactly how they act.
Wrong message being sent out to those outside of India is what you think is going to be, given that these raids have come, like you said, at an interesting time when BBC was in news and was in the eye of the storm, given the documentary they had put on the Prime Minister.
Absolutely. I think, it's a well-documented riot that took place in Gujarat, in which the Supreme Court also had multiple hearings on it. And this just shows that instead of tackling the issues at hand, Prime Minister Modi is trying to correct his image. And in order to kind of distract the attention of the people from what's happening with the Adani Group, what's happening in Kanpur with the people where a mother and daughter lost their lives, this is a sideshow. And Prime Minister Modi can very well explain to the heads of G20 that when he talks about Indian democracy, this is what he means. He means raids. He means ED raids on opposition. He means clean chits to crony capitalism. He means higher GST rates on poor people. This is Prime Minister Modi's model of democracy.
Okay, interestingly, Mr. Gogoi,